Attention, please. I will tell you about another targets. Another targets are capacity building, trade, and systemic issues. First, capacity building. This goal is to enhance international support for implementing effective and targeted capacity building in developing countries to support national plans to implement all the sustainable development goals, including through north to south, south to south, and triangular cooperation. Second goal is trade. This goal is to promote a universal, rules-based, open, non-discriminatory, and equitable multilateral trading system. Under the World Trade Organization, which is called WTO, including through the conclusion of negotiations under its Doha Development Agenda, and is to significantly increase the exports of developing countries, in particular with a view of doubling the least developed countries' share of global exports by 2020, and is to realize timely implementation of duty-free and quota-free market access on a lasting basis for all least developed countries, consistent with WTO decisions, including by ensuring that preferential rules of origin applicable to imports from least developed countries are transparent and simple and contribute to facilitating market access. Lastly, there are three big categories in systemic issues, which are policy and institutional coherence, multi-stakeholder partnerships, and data monitoring and accountability. First, policy and institutional coherence. This goal is to enhance global economic development by respecting each country's policy space and leadership. Second, multi-stakeholder partnerships. This goal has its purposes on enhancing partnerships between developed country and developing country for achieving sustainable development with sharing knowledge, expertise, and technology and financial resources from developed countries. Furthermore, this goal's aim is to encourage and promote effective public and public-private and civil society partnerships, building on the experience and resourcing strategies of partnerships. Third, data monitoring and accountability. This goal is to enhance capacity building support to developing countries, including for least developed countries and small island developing states, to increase the availability of high-quality, timely, and reliable data by 2020. The reason why they set this goal is that the MDG's 8th goal, which is to develop a global partnership for development, was not succeed. There was no data to estimate because the survey was unreliable and hard to compare across countries. Thus, a lot of problems arose in such as health, emergency, and assistance.
Partnerships cannot work by oneself. They need trustworthy partners who need to go along the same path together. For the big project like Sustainable Development Goals by United Nations, the partnerships and cooperation between the parties are the essence of a successful project. United Nations neither can carry the project by itself, nor direct every aspect of the goals. The Sustainable Development Goals put the partnerships for the goals as a 17th goal, which is the last goal, and also the key to a success as well. Who will be benefiting from the Sustainable Development Goals? Unlike the misconception that I had before, I had this training that poor and developing countries will benefit from the development. Every country who joins under the partnership will benefit from the growth as an international transformation. We as a global citizens have to show solidarity under United Nations to work together toward our goals. Global cooperation where developed helps the developing countries would be one of the example that we have to work on as partners for the development goals. The partnerships should not at the global level where it ends up in a meeting held in United Nations the United Nations wants the active participation in the regional level. The countries in the same region share similarities than other countries. The region could identify and discuss the problems that they share together. Not only they can share the problems, the success could also be shared through the regions, which makes the partnership much more specialized and stronger. United Nations will oversee the regional cooperation and provide the guidance over the systemic issues to make sure the system works properly and the cooperation could last over the period. This latter approach should trickle down to national level and to local level, forming stronger oversight and accountability. The partnerships that UN is looking after are not just cooperation within the country's officials or governments. The true global partnerships involve every aspect of the world. The partnerships should be carried out by governments and public sector, civil societies, and private sectors in accordance. To achieve this success, each field would have to carry out its role. The government should show clear direction and encouragement toward the other public, private, and civil society partnerships through policies and close monitoring. They need to work on frameworks and regulations to motivate the private investors and other organizations to work on the goals. The civil society also help to voice their opinions and help to commit in the project as NGOs. They will conduct independent studies and review the government guidelines to verify the effectiveness. The private sectors should invest their private resources and technologies toward the other partners over the globe. The trade and investment toward the development would be beneficial to all parties.
I see that you saw what I intended for you to see. Now, lastly, we will talk about reflection on the school while we were researching it. First, we thought that advertisement and promotion, like spreading word about the school, was very important because the school was this idea of having partnerships as a means of implementation was new and like a very new idea that was included in the Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of people know about it, and we believe that spreading this goal is very important. And not only spreading it, but changing people's perspective on what global partnership is I believe, is also essential. Global partnership is not only two people working together, but working together to actually implement these goals into reality. That's what people actually need to think of when they think of global partnerships as a means of implementation. Lastly, we thought that there were some flaws in this Sustainable Development Goal 17, which was that there is no indicator, there is no standard, or there is no actual measures that we can decide whether this partnership was successful or not, or is going on the right process or not. Even though the organizations and the NGOs can actually look at the government and UN guidelines and see if we're fitting it, it is actually not in statistics. It is very hard to do with statistics, and because of that, we believe that there is no clear indicator of this, and we believe even though this goal was achieved and this goal means to implement these goals into reality, it might be harder for us to actually implement this goal into action if we do not have a clear indicator of how this partnership is going on. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we'll have a Q&A session.
Ki-Jung said that private sectors can invest to other parts of the society, but what policies do you believe that would incentivize these profit-oriented private sectors to cooperate in this partnership? So you can't deny that these corporations are very profit-oriented. They focus on money. Therefore, what policies do you believe that will actually incentivize these people to cooperate in these international goals?
Actually, like Actually, private organizations, you said, are very oriented in self-interest, and they do not try to do things that would not give them profit. However, we could give them incentives to do it, just such things that, like, we would give you less price on, like, developing things, or we will give you a less tax on a new product that they invented. We can give them enough incentives that the government can give them to actually make them donate or work together with partnerships. And we believe that would be possible, and that is still the process that we use in these days' life. Is there any more questions?
Yes, on the last thing you said. So, what is the criticism? That there are no sufficient indicators for knowing if people do the partnerships?
Well, actually, it's our very personal opinion, and because we're not experts on this, and I believe you will look at this presentation because we did not have enough
No, but
information
just
in
explain
the
again.
internet. Explain about
Yeah,
this.
just to understand that thing about the indicators that you said.
Well, let's say, for example, poverty. But I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say right now the people who live under the poverty line is like 2.6 million. And if by 2030 they are going to reduce that number to like 2 million, then there are like significant goals like on how to do it. But this goal is not achieving it by self, but it is on to how to implement these other 16 goals. And it's a way, it's a direction on how to implement them, but to actually like assess on whether this has been going right or wrong, or whether this is like being successful, or whether this is going in the right direction. We do not have clear indicators to actually like know if partnerships is actually going it right.
Did you read that somewhere, or did you know? I mean,
No, I just found it.
I mean, of course, it's just go.
Is there any program to prevent the development and developing countries laziness?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, if UN gives a support to the developing countries, maybe some developing countries became lazy, so they didn't work well and only rely on the UN supporting it. Are there any prevention for UN?
Well, actually, we did not think of, we focused on the goals. So
we didn't go that.
yeah, so no, we didn't focus. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Like
We had focused on the goals, so we haven't actually researched the things about what would happen if they would not actually follow the goals. But I believe there are some preventions to it, such things, and I think I heard it before. When they make agreements or negotiations, if one country or a specific country does not actually follow the things that they agreed on, then it will look very bad to other countries, and they would like force them out. So I think that's kind of it's not direct or it's not written down, but it's a psychological factor that actually prevents the developed countries from becoming lazy.
Thank you very much. I see no body.